Continue today. We have started last week going about the subject of al-janaiz. And al-janaiz means what?
Funeral.
Funeral. Jam'u janaza, right? And the reference that I'm referring to most of the time is the book, and I really recommend highly for many of us to look at. Is the book of أحكام الجنائز وبدعها أو بدعيها للشيخ رحمه الله الألباني. You will see, subhanAllah, there's so many errors that many of us go through. And at the end of this book, he had what we call summary, تلخيص للبدع. That just he mentioned them and through. We're going to go, inshallah, bits and pieces of this book, but inshallah you can go for more details, go to that book and figure and try to get as much as you can, inshallah, from there. If somebody is sick and this is the death illness, and you're sitting around that patient, what is it that few things that you need to do? Like, for example, I give you the talqeen. What is the talqeen that we do? What is it? Shahada, right? So that's it. There's some people expand on this, right? See this, and subhanAllah, I don't want to mention this, or it would not be in our mind. But the main thing is, La ilaha illallah. That's the main thing, because we have mentioned before, the من كان آخر كلامه لا إله إلا الله دخل الجنة. Now what happened now? He's right in front of you, and there's people sitting. Sometimes they have discussions of things about their business and about all these things. We should not do that. We should just sit and pause and think about the talqeen, and also think about ourselves, that we're going to be in that moment one day. And how do you like to pass with this? Now let's say he or she now passed in front of you. What is it that you do? Huh?
You ask about
Talqeen, and we finished the talqeen. Now we passed. Now passed. Huh? تغمض العينين, right? And you make dua in it and expedite the preparation for the janazah, right? طيب. Now, the patient himself, that who is in the dying moment, what is their status, their mentation, right? Are they afraid? Are they hopeful? What are they? What situation they will be? And I'm going to give you a hadith. The Prophet ﷺ دخل على شاب وهو بالموت. He entered and there was somebody dying, and he said to him, كيف تجد? How do you feel? How do you feel? So he said, والله يا رسول الله إني أرجو الله وإني أخاف ذنوبي. See those two? رجاء وخوف, right? أرجو الله وأخاف ذنوبي. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يجتمعان في قلب عبد في مثل هذا الموطن إلا أعطاه الله ما يرجو وأمنه مما يخاف. So the Prophet ﷺ entered, and there was a young man dying, and he said, how do you feel? And he said two things: I have a hope and I have a fear. I have a hope from Allah and I have a fear from Allah. Right? And the Prophet ﷺ said, for anyone, if you have those two feelings in the heart of somebody in your situation, Allah will give you what you hope for and will secure you and save you from what you fear from. SubhanAllah. And you will see this throughout the Quran, right? يدعون ربهم خوفا وطمعا. إنهم يسارعون في الخيرات ويدعون ربهم رغبا ورهبا. Right? أمن هو قانت آناء الليل ساجدا قائما يحذر خوف يحذر الآخرة ويرجو رحمة ربه. So when you have those two balanced, then this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you that. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the one who is in that moment hoping for the mercy of Allah and feeling there and feeling for the sins that he or she committed. So this is among the always al-raja wa al-khawf. طيب. وإذا حضرتم المريض أو الميت فقولوا خيرا فإن الملائكة يؤمنون على ما تقولون. You remember that hadith when there is a dying احتضار, the angels are there. So watch out what you're saying and always say something that is good. Now can you go and attend somebody, like you have a friend at work who's not Muslim and he's dying, can you attend that? We mentioned that the last time, right? We said yes, but you cannot make dua, right? And you cannot, okay. ولا بأس في أن يحضر المسلم وفاة الكافر ليعرض الإسلام عليه رجاء أن يسلم لحديث أنس. We have mentioned the hadith before.
حتى في كنيسة.
لا الكنائس لا تدخل في الفينرال ولا تدخل في الكنيسة لأنه it's different. ما على الحاضر. Now if somebody died in one area, right? تلقينه تدعوه إلى الإسلام طبعا. لا بأس في ذلك. ربما إن شاء الله yes you can do the تلقين. That would be you save them from hellfire. Remember the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Yeah, the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he came into a غلام is a young man, Yahudi يخدم النبي فمرض. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came in to visit him and he sat there and he said Aslim. So he invited to Islam and he did. Subhanallah. And then he said, Alhamdulillah الذي أنقذه من النار. Alhamdulillah الذي أنقذه. And I could, I know there's some stories here, and at least in our community, that somebody, before they passed away, they were their neighbors and they went in and they declared the Shahada right before they died. So subhanallah. Now, and then after they passed, obviously the dua, right? Now, what happened if somebody who lives here and make a wasiyah? If I die, you take me back and bury me back home, right? And give me back home thousands of miles, right? What do we do with the wasiyah? We listen to it? No. Okay. قال النووي في الأذكار وإذا أوصى بأن ينقل إلى بلد آخر لا تنفذ وصيته. So if there's a recommendation like this, because sometimes you run into people, you advise them, no, you should not really do that, because the sunnah is to bury where you are, right? And in the maqbara Islamiyah, and they say, what if he made a wasiyah? Yes, even if he made a wasiyah, you do not go, you do not fulfill that wasiyah. فإن النقل حرام على المذهب الصحيح المختار الذي قاله الأكثرون وصرح به المحقق. So in other words, it's not advisable. Now, and if he has a debt, you pay that debt. We all know the ahadith that talk about that. طيب.
How much?
Huh?
How much?
He didn't say.
It depends how much. I can pay if it's a few dollars, but if it's more than that, forget it. Yes.
What does it say about if there isn't an Islamic cemetery?
If he,
If there isn't a
مقبرة غير إسلامية.
yes. So there is plenty of areas here they do not have Islamic maqbara. So if they do not have maqbara Islamiyya, you look for the closest maqbara Islamiyya and then you can transfer them for that. We do have people, they come from Pennsylvania, from the other places, they come to here. Now, there's some people doing it because it's a little bit cheaper and all this, but just, balance things. But Allah knows best. Now there are maqabir that they have sections, that they have Islamic section, and many scholars they say it's okay, but they have like some rulings on this, like you have to be really separate completely, and have to be a road in between them, and all these things. You can read this in fiqh book. Allah knows best, but that's your goal is to do. And actually in this book, I can't remember this book or the other book, that mentioned if you do not find maqbara Islamiyya and you're allowed to bury, just keep them away from there. Like let's say you have a big farm or anything and you get permission to bury, then you can do that. And that would be away from non-Islamic maqbara. Wallahu a'lam.
دكتور عندي سؤال هنا دكتور. طيب القائم على يعني لما كان في لي صديق توفى سفرته على البلاد، هل علي اسم؟ كبير.
يا ويلك لا. والله يا أخي اسأل مفتي بس تستغفر الله. The question is, he has a friend and he asked him to take him all the way to the other country and bury him, and he did that. Is that a sin on me? اللهم اغفر لنا جميعا. Allahu a'lam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us all. But if something you run into this, don't do it, and advise people not to do it. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. But don't be a part of it. Yes.
شو بتعرف او ما تعرفش؟ شو اللي بتعرف او بتعرف؟
I'm sorry, he's asking. What about?
Orientation.
بعد الأولاد.
Orientation. If the mayyat is buried in a non-Muslim graveyard, and it's not oriented towards
The Qibla and all this. MashaAllah. Well, first, I mean, you brought this. This is a good question. What kind of the grave that we have, right? There's two types, right? There's what we call a shaq, right? And there's a lahd. You know the lahd. Now, do we do lahd here? I don't think so.
No,
I haven't seen. I mean, I have many family members. They buried. They know lahd. You know what the lahd is? Does anybody doesn't know what the lahd is?
بيكون في تجويف.
I'm asking, does anybody does not know the lahd? Okay, does not. Okay. So I want to explain the. Nabi, where you live? Okay. So the shuq, the qabr, the grave, it's like, what do you call it in Arabic? متوازي مستطيلات. I don't know what you call it in English, but anyway, it's like a box, right? Huh? Yeah, so like this, right? So this is like one wall, right? And deep, right? The ground, and then they get the. Now, the Islamic maqbara, you have this wall that facing the Qibla, this wall, they bury another hufra in it, another ditch in it. That is the size of the deceased. And then they put him in this one, so it will be like this. Okay? So now they put him in the lahad, facing the Qibla. So this way when they put the dirt in the grave, it doesn't touch him. It passes by his back until it's filled. Right? So that's a lahad. And that is the sunnah of the Islamic maqbara. And unfortunately, even Islamic countries now, they don't do the lahad. Only few that do the lahad. And this is, that's the sunnah. So if we are talking about how do you face it, it should be the right, I'm not the expert, but if you have a lahad, it should be facing the Qibla. And that's how the orientation is. Is that your question? Right.
And also, sometimes, rather than being this way, it is this way.
Yeah, I don't know the orientation, how it is, but in general, when you put the head, let's say somebody is asleep, right? This is the head. This right wall should be the Qibla. This right wall should be the Qibla. So whatever orientation it is, as long as this right wall, the right of the patient, the right of the deceased, that right wall should be the Qibla. That should be facing the Qibla. I don't know, have you been into this Maqbara Islamiyya, the AMA, right?
Yes.
And you see how they line up, and you know where the Qibla is. right? It will be the other side, which is the right side of the deceased if the head is put there, right? طيب. Now you have mentioned about opening, see the face. It says here, ويجوز لهم كشف وجه الميت وتقبيله والبكاء عليه. وفي ذلك أحاديث. I'm not going to go through the ahadith. Yes, you can see the face of the deceased and grief on that. طيب. The relatives of the deceased, we all know this. If somebody have a loss, what is it they should do? Rip their clothes, right? Beat themselves? Of course not, right? So this is a niyaha, it's forbidden. Now the grief is, it is something that you have no control, and that's, we all grieve. And we all sad when we lose somebody, and that's fine, that's absolutely fine. But what is not fine is to go beyond that. Okay.
Do women attend the janazah?
Who will?
The woman.
The women attend the janazah. According to this, the janazah, yes, but the defn and the maqbara, no. And the maqbara, no. And that goes for the for everybody wanted to make dua, inshallah, for the deceased. طيب. We said the na'i. We talked about the na'i also. What is the meaning of the na'i?
Posted in social media.
It's i'lam bil wafat.
Yeah.
To notify people that so and so died, right? Now, notification of death is accepted, and that's no problem with that. But what people sometimes do go beyond that. They make ta'been and they make they send a resume with it, right? So that should not be the case. That's we should avoid, because it's just to notify. That is fine. We talked about alamat husn al-khatimah. Now, the I'm sorry, I missed it.
No, it's okay. I have a question. Is it okay to read Quran by the grave after he is buried? This one thing. The other thing, when they visit the grave, is it okay to read Quran by the grave? Like a lot of people do that, back in Egypt. They sit down and they get somebody to read Quran and they make dua for the disease and something like that. Is this okay or is this
Inshallah. The short answer is no, and I'm going to go inshallah later on at the end about all these things. There's a common error that people do the recitation on the grave, and that's not. There's some people, you go to their house to say condolences and they pass a khatma, right? They have a whole Quran and jizr, so let's do khatma and all this. There's no authentic reference to that. So this is a no-no. Now, the taghsil al-mayyit, I'm not going to go through this, you all know, but there is one thing that I wanted you to remember. And remember this hadith. Taghsil al-mayyit wa takfeenuh, it's an act of worship. It's a amal salih that you will get rewarded to. Many of us don't know that. Many of us don't know that. And I'm going to give you this hadith. This من غسل مسلما فكتم عليه غفر له الله 40 مرة ومن حفر له فأجنه أجري عليه كأجر مسكن أسكنه إياه إلى يوم القيامة ومن كفنه كساه الله يوم القيامة من سندس واستبرق الجنة. Huh? So the Prophet ﷺ, this hadith in Al-Hakim, and this is and Al-Tabarani, and there's a long list of references, but the hadith says, whom wash a Muslim and katam alayh. So there's two things, taghsil and al-katam. And katam, it's like you shukr yasatar, which means you don't tell about him, right? What is he talking about? Have you seen people, they go and wash the deceased, they come out and tell you stories about that, right? Either like some like defects in their bodies or something. I mean, they not, this is absolutely haram. You have to have kitman. And that is important. That is important. So whoever washes and hide the secret or hide whatever it is about the deceased, ولا يحد فكتب عليه, Allah will forgive له 40 times. And there's another hadith, another version, 40 kabira, so on. But so this is, that's the reward. So I say this because many of us sometimes don't think of it. We think of it as like, it's like a duty or something like. But it is ibadah, it's an act of worship. And unfortunately now, it is a mihna, it's a profession, right? Many of us don't do this part. And wallahi, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about myself. Because many of us, we don't participate in this. Now, وَمَنْ حَفَرَ, the one who dig the grave or maybe buy a grave for somebody, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's like you have bought a house for somebody all these years till the day of judgment. SubhanAllah. And whoever make the kafan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him a cloth of cinders and istabraq and in the Jannah. SubhanAllah. So you can see this, how much reward in this part of taghsil, takfeen and so on. So somebody raise their hands. Yes.
هنا طبعا بعد الجنائز هنا في المسجد بيطلبوا دونيت للناس عشان يلموا تكلفة اللاجئ. ايش الشرع بده في
والله يا اخي لا بأس بالدونيشن.
الناس ياخذوا الأجر.
He was asking that when somebody get buried or something, they're asking people for donation. Inshallah la bas. There's, my advice, you can help out any way you can, but the best thing that you can do, alhamdulillah, we have organizations now that they're establishing services, funeral services for Muslims, right? And you have, like, for example, in the masjid, there's Janaiz fund, right? This is for the fund. Now, it is the duty of the family of the deceased to do this. They do it from his money, from his or her money, the deceased money. Now, if the person have money and the family has money and they come and ask for a donation, I mean that's like right? Allah. But if they could not afford and they could not, then definitely they seek help, and that is a noble thing to do, and inshallah a righteous deed that may Allah accept from all of us. But yes, there is Janaiz Fund, and there's the cemeteries that we have, the Islamic cemetery, AMA. MashaAllah, they're very well organized, and they provide the grave free. So the only thing you pay for is the digging fees. And those are, sometimes people may not be able to afford, then you can help out. Allah Ta'ala ala. Now,
I have one question. Is the mughassil, the person who prepare, the disease, does he need to be like have wudu?
yes, let me check on that. I think the answer is yes. I think the answer is yes. Allahu A'lam. Let me take that back. I don't know. Can somebody look it up for me? Mustafa.
Okay. I have another.
Just go to Islamic question and answer, and does the
I got you.
the one المغسل يجب أن يكون متوضئا أم لا؟ نعم.
I have a quick thing to mention about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he passed away,
نعم.
we had like 4 of the scholars or the people, Sahaba, they were there, and then they didn't know if they're gonna have to unclothe him, take his clothes off to wash him or not. And then came wahi, all of them slept, and came wahi, and they told him with his clothes, don't uncover him, and this takes us back again to al-wahi, this one thing. It was after that, it was the second thing that do we put him in في مقبرة or في لحد. And also for that, they didn't know what to do. Then they said, we're gonna send, there were only 2 people who bury Muslims in Medina. So they asked them, we're gonna send to both of them. Whoever comes first will do whatever he does.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. And then the Prophet Muhammad was buried in Lahad because of that.
In his place, right?
Yeah.
طيب.
I have the answer.
Barakallah fiqh. There is a hadith here, but doesn't say about should he be like in wudu or not. It says من غسل ميتا فليغتسل ومن حمله فليتوضأ. I don't know about this is one of this related to wudu or not wudu. That is after. طيب. While he's looking this up for us, inshallah, but remember the talseen and the takfir.
I have it.
Yes, تفضل.
الغسل سنة إذا غسل ميتا سنة أن يغتسل والوضوء واجب وقوم وليس عليه أدلة واضحة. ولكن
الوضوء واجب على المغسل.
ليس أدلة واضحة.
لا so we don't know for sure. Okay. Allah, there's no evidence. There's no reference for that. طيب. بارك الله فيك. طيب, I'm going to go now and skip all this and go to the bid'ah that many of us we run into. How much time do we have?
About 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, that's inshallah.
لسه
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Like, huh?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Oh, alhamdulillah. So let's see the bid'ah that we see a lot of times and errors that we see a lot of times. And you tell me, you're laughing because it's going to be a long list. He listed 240.
240?
240, okay? So we're going to go through them quick, okay? He says, and that's the talkhis. That's the talkhis, okay? So, وضع المصحف عند رأس المحتضر. You know, when somebody is dying, they put the mushaf on his head or under his head. I've seen that. Now, if you put it to have the mushaf close to him when he wakes up and read, it's fine, inshallah. But if you put it just the barakah and all this, there's no reference to that. تلقين الميت الإقرار بالنبي وأئمة أهل البيت and all this, and this is you see on the Shia more actually than the قراءة سورة ياسين على المحتضر. You know, the قراءة, the only thing about the dying person, the muhtadir, is the talqeen. Remember that. The only thing is the talqeen and the dua and the maghfirah. Yeah.
التلقين لا إله إلا الله only or لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.
لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. You can do more if you want, but لا إله إلا الله is the most important thing that the deceased has, the dying person has to say. توجيه, they turn him to the qibla. Have you seen that? I remember that. I was 10 years old when they turned my father to the qibla. So there's no reference to that. توجيه المحتضر إلى القبلة. أنكره سعيد بن المسيب. This, by the way, all this here, it's listed, the evidence here. Okay, so in the beginning of the book, it's all listed. But this is now, he's like making talqis. After dying, after the wafa, like for the women, if they're going through menstrual period or nafsa, they tell them to leave the room. And I've seen that. So there's no reference to that. There's some people, when somebody died, they leave work for 7 days.
They do what?
They leave, they don't go to work for 7 days.
MashaAllah.
Well, it's a beautiful break, right? I mean, if that, why? Now, does the government cover that, right? It's not like when you're having a baby, you take 3 months off,
هنا في
right?
امريكا بيدوا هنا بيدوا الامريكان بيدوك هنا في الشركه بيدوك
Yeah. Where?
هنا الامريكان they give you.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm not saying that.
Oh.
I remember it's like my daughter was coming to me and she's saying, Dad, they make it 3 months. And somebody was saying 3 months is not enough because they give to the father. I'm talking about the father, not the mother.
Oh.
The father now, paternity leave, right? Yeah, paternity leave, 3 months. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, can you imagine 3 months and 3 months, 6 months for, well, I keep having babies all the time, so it's wonderful, right? SubhanAllah, I'm not saying anything again, I'm just like an old school, right? You have to work day and night, 24/7. But there's one, she was telling me that 3 months, he was saying that it was fraternal leave. 3 months, he's saying it wasn't enough. He wanted more than 3 months. Okay, so قراءة القرآن عند الميت. It's not, it's a bid'ah. So remember, that's one of the things.
قبل الموت وبعد الموت؟
ها؟
قبل الموت وبعد الموت؟
بعد الموت. قراءة عند الميت. مات.
قبل الميت.
قبل الميت, you know, he was talking about like قراءة Surah Yasin, no. But I don't know in general if you recite the Quran or not. I think it is accepted, but the main thing is the talqeen. The main thing is the talqeen, nothing beyond that.
تنذر من كان حيا مش من كان ميتا.
قبل ما يموت
They,
يعني.
have you seen people shave their head? Right? They shave their head when somebody dies. I've seen that in other cultures, but they do that. Sometimes, somebody who doesn't have a beard, he grows his beard when somebody dies, right? For like a certain period, and then they shave it, right? So, okay. And then there's so much stuff here. I want to mention to you the most common ones. Now, Mustafa probably remembers that. I came from Syria, right? And we've seen many janazah. And the janazah they have a microphone, and they announce, and wherever they see crowd, Al-Fatiha! And then, everybody stand and recite Al-Fatiha. Tarhamu alayhi, and so on, and all this. I mean, they announce. It's not allowed to do that. It has to be samt, people pausing and thinking and all this. So that's among the bid'ah. No.
So you shouldn't be talking when you're carrying the disease to
Casket.
his grave.
Yeah.
You should not say like
Wahdu,
or all
wahdu.
this
Oh,
stuff.
you've seen it here 100
Yeah.
times. They should not do that. Absolutely not. It should be samt, kamil. That's nothing. And here it's la ilaha illa, it's like a arada. It's like rally and so on. It shouldn't be that. No, it's nothing reference to that. They do, like some people when they go and watch the deceased, they make certain dhikr and all this. There's no reference to that. That's another thing. There's some people, they carry flags in janazah, and they carry pictures and they carry stuff. That's all not there. Now, this is really, they spend tons of money on this. They buy flowers and they buy all these things. الأكاليل والآس والزهور وصورة للميت أمام الجنازة. When you see many janazas, it's like piled up with all this, right? And you see people spending tons of money on that. But that's all waste. And there's nothing of the sunnah in that. So this is mukhalafat, all mukhalafat. There's some people even, they carry bread and they distribute bread, and the people they slaughter, they make a dhabiha and all this. It's all not mentioned.
سؤال.
شيخ.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, yes.
For the grave, some people use marble and it's not allowed, right?
They use
Marble.
That's
They
a
write
waste,
the
yeah.
name. They write
Yeah. Well, it's only for identification, it's fine, but some people, they do shahada this long, and they write the whole life story in this, right? And they write Quran on it, Ya ayyatuha, it's still, I mean, it's my father's grave, it's still there. Ya ayyatuha an-nafs al-mutma'inna, and all this, and then they write Tuwfiya so and so, and they write his date of birth and all this. It should be just for identification, just the name and that's it.
Problem.
Not above the grave, there's
Yeah.
no mounting, no
Sheikh,
mounting,
they
yes.
write ayat and people walk on it now.
There?
They walk on the grave.
No, you should walk besides the grave, not on the grave itself. No, that's not. ترك الإنصات في الجنازة. ترك الإنصات. So the janazah should be insat, like the people they start. الجهر بالذكر أو بقراءة القرآن عند الجنازة. الصياح خلف الجنازة. استغفروا. اللهم ارحمه and so on. I remember they're going to say, سامحوا يا جماعة. Forgive them. الصياح بلفظ الفاتحة, we mentioned that. And there are some people, I see that, like for example, زيارة القبور. I know my family used to take me to visit my father every Thursday, right? And every Eid. Have you seen that? You've gone to the maqabir and the ayad. I mean, it's like, you start your Eid with the maqbara, right? I mean, it's just, subhanAllah, instead of going to the masjid and taking the takbirat, you start with the maqbara. That's all unheard of, and that's all, there's no reference to it. There's no reference to it.
So you should.
And they do on the 40th, huh?
You shouldn't visit like the graves.
You visit the grave, but don't. You see, the thing about bid'ah, Visiting the grave is fine. It's allowed. But to make takhsis, you make shay mutlaq mukhassas. So if you specify is that you do it on that day or you do it on this occasion, that becomes a bid'ah.
For the holidays, like if you go for like say Eid al-Fitr or
If you, okay, so let's do it again. You can visit the grave anytime. If it happens that you have time on the Eid to visit, it's fine. But if you have your mindset every Eid, you have to be on the grave, that becomes, the way you set it up, it becomes mukhalif lis-sunnah, right? And we have mentioned the difference between mukhalif lis-sunnah and bid'ah. What is the difference? When we say mukhalif lis-sunnah, or we say this is mukhalif lis-sunnah, and we say this is bid'ah. What is the difference? Al-istimrariyya. If you do it regularly like this becomes a bid'ah. If you do it just once, we say mukhalif lis-sunnah. It's not, just do the sunnah, right? But if you continuously do it and repeat it, then it becomes the definition of bid'ah. Right. Salatul Ghaib. We have mentioned that before, right? How many we see like you wanted to attend the funeral and you could not attend the funeral, and then you're in a different state, and you really badly wanna pray on that deceased, right? So you do Salat Ghaib. May Allah forgive me. I mean, I've done it several times. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me. It's not right. So what is it that you do? Do you make Salat Ghaib on somebody? How do you do it? Yes or no? You don't know. Do you do Salat Ghaib? You have somebody very dear to you passed. They took him to janazah. You could not make it to the janazah. Right? And they prayed on him. They prayed Salat Janazah for him. And you're in a different state. Can you do Salat Ghaib or not?
Yes. No, can't do it. If I know,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, you can. Okay,
No.
and you said no.
If
The
I know
answer
somebody,
is
there is
wrong.
nobody.
No.
No.
No. We said somebody prayed on him.
Oh, okay.
Somebody already prayed on him? No. But if no one prayed on him, no one, you know they just buried him, like no, and nobody prayed, then you can pray. Now, let me continue. You're in the same city. And somebody passed away. And they prayed. And they buried that person. And you now learned, or whatever, you missed the salah, and you came
After
to the
prayer.
grave.
Yeah.
You came to the grave. Can you do salat janazah or not?
No.
Yes. Now, how do I know this? This is not from me. This is a reference to it. What is the reference? The Prophet ﷺ, right?
Yes.
When there's somebody was cleaning the masjid, passed away at night, they prayed on that, right? And then the Prophet ﷺ woke up the next morning and he said, what happened to so and so? He said, passed. He went to the grave and did salat janazah. So if you go to the grave, let's say you missed the salah, and you really want to pray on that, don't pray ghaib. If it happens that you went to the grave, you can do salat janazah. Allah knows best. Yes?
The dua
In the salah?
it seems to be very inclusive, because we say Allahumma qfirli hayyina wa mayyitina,
Right.
as if it includes everybody all the time.
Right.
Can one make a niyyah, that he is making janazah for everybody at that time?
Absolutely. I mean, in your dua, this is mutlaq. This is like an open, it's an absolute. So you can say anything you want and make dua and include anything. Allahumma ghfir lil muslimina wal muslimat, right? المؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات. So
that
you
will
can,
include the ones who passed away and you didn't.
that includes everybody. Inshallah. Inshallah, you get reward for that as well.
Sheikh,
Yes.
المرحوم Shahid Mursi and others, and Hassan al-Banna and others, they were buried without people even knowing where they are. So those you can do salat.
His family prayed on him, to my knowledge.
But not
His
them.
wife just.
Yeah, as long as there's somebody praying on him, inshallah, you don't need to pray. You make dua for them, inshallah. But not salat ghaib. If there is someone that prayed on the deceased that you know about, then inshallah dua will be more, will be the sunnah. Beyond that, if you know there's no one prayed on him at all, then you do like a Najashi. That's the reference. The Najashi, when he passed away, nobody prayed on him, and the Prophet ﷺ made salat ghaib on him. Yes.
I just,
Go ahead.
you mentioned that, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he went after he did Salatul Janazah, he went to the grave and he prayed again Salatul Janazah. So you can pray Salatul Janazah more than one time?
Individually, not jama'ah.
Ah.
Not jama'ah. The first one was jama'ah. They prayed on him. It's fine, inshallah. Now, we mentioned about the talqeen al-mayyit. We mentioned about. Then some people they say poem and they make ta'been right after. This is also the food, right? We have seen now, which is, Allah forgive me too. We have seen that after they bury the deceased, they make like a walima, or they make, we've seen that. That's not of the sunnah. That's not of the sunnah. We advise myself first and foremost not to do that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. Now, sometimes when people are coming from out of town and all this, you have the feeling that you're really obligated to
feed them.
bring them dinner and all this. That's again, it's not the sunnah. Now, if you're doing it just because they're from outside and all this, not for the funeral, that's totally different story. But you don't want to mix those two, okay? The sunnah is for the people to make food for the family of the deceased. That's the sunnah.
Yeah.
You make food for them, that is the sunnah. Yes, yeah.
Yes, no, تعمل هذه جعفر.
Like if you pray with janazah, like by yourself, like let's say like you prayed for someone who died years ago, and you're at your home, do you still get like the same like ajr or reward as like the mountain, when it comes to
That you did not. I don't know. I don't know the answer. His question is, if you attend Salat Janazah to the deceased, you get a reward as the Mount of Uhud, right? And if you go to the burial, you get 2 qirats, right? There's 2 of them. Now, if the Salat al-Janazah, when you do it as a ghaib, right? Salat ghaib, inshallah, Allah knows best. Just in comparison and qiyas, Allahu alam, inshallah, you'll get the reward.
Sure.
Yes.
We have this bid'ah now, I think, that when somebody passes away, the family comes to the masjid, whether it is Dar Hijr or others, and they do shahi and qahwa and this and that, and they do that kind of thing. But there are others that bring a qari who takes $250 per hour to read Quran and hear sometimes the Quran, and people speak and كل هذه الأشياء.
Well, first of all, let me see. الوصية باتخاذ الطعام والضيافة يوم موته أو بعده أو بإعطاء دراهم معدودة لمن يتلو القرآن لروحه أو يسبح له أو يهلل له. It's all bid'ah. It's all bid'ah. And may Allah forgive us. And I say this because we find ourselves sometimes deep into this. So we should, inshallah, avoid that. The people pay, some of us do that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So no, it's not. وقف الأوقاف سيما النقود لتلاوة القرآن, we mentioned that. We now only 122. We have 240. So we're gonna skip them. We're gonna go fast. So we'll save the questions for later on. القراءة للأموات وعليهم, it's again بدعة. قراءة القرآن له وختمه عند قبره. Remember we talked about that. That's also. تأبين الميت. Have you seen that the people go on the 40th day, الأربعين, right? تأبين الميت ليلة الأربعين أو the anniversary, right? I remember I went to one of those restaurants, right?
Even posted in the social media. Even posted for social media.
There's no point of doing that. There's nothing of this. We're talking about this.
To make people make rahmat,
Yeah, you can mention it, but it's not on the anniversary. It's not on. You can remind people, like so and so passed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive. You can always remind them to make dua for them. but not specify it on the first anniversary, second anniversary, and then the whole year, nothing. I've seen that. You know, you go to those big restaurants, right? And then you see there's a big party there. And it's like recitation of the Quran and dinner and hundreds of people. What is it? Oh, it's the third anniversary of so-and-so passed away. You know, this is just all not of the Sunnah, and we should avoid that.
Sure.
How about, let me do this and then we'll go to bed. حفر القبر قبل الموت استعدادا له.
ممتاز.
Yeah. I've seen people brag about this. You know, I bought my grave and all this. So it's nothing of the Sunnah. It's nothing of the Sunnah.
You mean hafr by you by yourself, or organize someone to do it?
Well, you can organize someone to do it, all this, whatever, all forms. Let's just put it all forms. Whether you buy it, whether you dig it, whether you do, and just have something ready for me. ولا تدري نفس بأي أرض تموت. Just leave this, but make wasiyah. Make wasiyah. I want it to be, if something happened to me, bury me this way and do this way. And by the way, many people are ignorant of the Sunnah. And it is in your wasiyah. You should really recommend, ask for that. Do this, you know.
Don't do this,
Line,
don't do this.
exactly, line things about them. And you know what? Well, I have said that I'm planning to do and sit with my family to do it. And every time I plan, it doesn't happen, right? So plan this to do it with, get all your family, right? When you gather on a dinner or something, whatever it is, get your family and say, listen, if something happened, I want you to do the following and not do the following. Line it up for them. Print it out. Send it to them so they can follow those instructions. Now, I think he had a question ahead of you. 2, 3, anybody else?
Dar al-Hijrah, when they announce the death of somebody, they say passed away. And I object to that. We should say we return to Allah. Passed away, يعني he went ila, we don't know where. Like actually we know where they are going. Is that something that
Allahu A'lam. It's linguistic. The meaning, it's the intention of the meaning is what really counts. Wallahu A'lam. It's kind of like mustalah, ami, that people kind of like
but we use
get
the
used to it.
the non-Muslims use the issue of passed away.
Yeah,
We
no,
don't pass away.
yeah,
We return to Allah.
yeah. نحن بالعربي انتقل إن شاء الله.
إلى رحمة الله.
No, no.
Yes. Well, there are two testaments: the Western testaments and the Muslim testaments. If you compare both of them, you will find something very interesting. The testaments here, the Western, is all talking about money, and the Muslim is only one line about money, and the rest is much more important things, like I'd like to have such and such. Do this. Don't do this. Don't.
Yeah.
And read this and do this, and which is more important than you get $10 and you get $5 and then etc. etc.
That is true. That's why it's important to educate first and foremost yourselves, ourselves, our families, and have more of these talks all the time, inshallah. How much, Doctor, how much time we have?
1 minute.
1 minute, done. طيب. Now we reached 147, and I didn't mention all of them. I just mentioned the most common ones. طيب. We're going to stop right here, inshallah, and we will continue next week, bi'Iznillah. We'll continue the same topic, or you want us to change topics?
Same topic.
Same topic, inshallah. طيب. Any questions? Yes.
Can you hold the cover of the book
Oh,
to
here.
the camera?
You got it? Okay.
It is available in PDF.
Yeah,
You can just download
yeah,
it.
yeah. You can get it anywhere.
Just download it.
Inshallah.
No, I
barakallah.
just want the name.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I can get it from my friend.
It's very important. Yeah. سبحانك اللهم ربنا بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا يا أرحم الراحمين.
آمين.
اللهم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام أحسن خاتمتنا
آمين.
واجعل خير أعمارنا أواخرها
آمين.
وخير أعمالنا خواتمها
آمين.
وخير أيامنا يوم لقائك يا أرحم الراحمين.
آمين.
اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها. اللهم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام انصر المسلمين المستضعفين في كل مكان،
آمين.
في كل مكان، في غزة وفي فلسطين يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين وارحم أمواتنا وأموات المسلمين. اللهم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام ارزقنا رضاك والجنة. اللهم ارزقنا رضاك والجنة. اللهم ارزقنا رضاك والجنة. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. بارك الله فيكم، جزاكم الله